Did I listen to pop music because I was miserable? Or was I miserable because I listened to pop music?
Heartbreak is one of the most intimate personal crises anyone can endure. It numbs your emotions, destroys your self-esteem, and makes you question if you're even worthy of love. During those dark times, many people turn to video games as a coping mechanism, but few games tackle the topic of lovesickness like the rhythm-fueled fun ride of Sayonara Wild Hearts. Underneath its glittery K-pop aesthetic and kitschy Sailor Moon transformation sequences is a surprisingly mature game that delivers a universal message about the pain and transformative potential of heartbreak.
Something's changed, and I didn't know.
We join our hero as she silently copes with a recent breakup. Reportedly, her heart broke so violently that it echoed through space and time, thus attracting the attention of the major arcana, who decide to lend her their strength to teach her a life lesson. She's then spirited away on a journey to seek closure from all the past lovers who have been reckless with her heart, by defeating them in larger-than-life rhythmic boss battles. Structurally, the game plays out like a pop concept album, while the narrative tells a remixed version of The Fool's Journey, a spiritual odyssey about a lowly person's quest towards enlightenment after coming in contact with every major arcana in a tarot deck. Sayonara Wild Hearts adopts this narrative blueprint and instead applies it to the process of recovering from heartbreak, all while calling upon the mystic symbolism of tarot cards. Obviously, we could get needlessly swept up in overanalyzing arcana until the heat death of the universe, so here's the broad strokes the game uses to enrich its story. Our protagonist dons the role of the Fool, an individual characterized as being unknowingly naive and someone who's been previously taken advantage of, a description that may sound all too real to anyone after a messy breakup. Though the Fool is thrust into their journey of self-discovery unexpectedly, they answer the call to adventure readily. Even though you don't know exactly where you're going, you're being called to commit yourself and follow your heart, no matter how crazy this leap of faith might seem to you. Now is the time when you need to trust where the universe is taking you. It's also interesting to mention that the Fool is considered the most powerful card in a tarot deck because it champions the virtue of starting anew. Other notable arcana examples within the game include the Wheel of Fortune and the Chariot, which typically represent inevitable change and regaining control. These cards manifest as the vehicles our protagonist rides throughout her journey. The final boss is also the personification of the Death card, which not only signifies closure, but also the fear of moving on, the perfect force for a lovesick hero to rebel against. The traditional Fool's Journey story concludes with the Fool being reborn. They discover a newfound sense of purpose and learn to feel comfortable in their own skin, and that's exactly how we leave our protagonist. During the final level, you'll revisit your past lovers once again, but this time they resemble you, and rather than hurting them, you kiss them. Our hero sees no more point in beating herself up about her relationship missteps. Instead, she learns to forgive her past self and love herself. Only then does her broken heart become whole once more. The Fool's Journey is an analogue for the hero's journey, a narrative framework that's endured a millennia because its uplifting message about emerging through conflict as a better person continues to resonate with people. Fate and destiny are also notions that are always associated with symbols of the arcana. It's fitting then that Sayonara Wild Hearts ends on a beautifully optimistic note, promising broken-hearted players that time, eventually, heals all wounds. This being a self-appointed pop album video game, it's unsurprising to see themes of new beginnings, change, and closure being echoed through the game's music and lyrics. The aptly titled track, Begin Again, is one of the first you'll hear, and it chronicles our hero's initial outlook on her journey and her resolve to put the past behind her. Conversely, the lamentful lyrics in The World We Knew presents the hero's perspective at the lowest point of her journey, as she fosters second doubts about her mission.
They say begin again. They say begin again. I'll treasure any fragments left behind.
These lyrics encapsulate the fatalistic and yearning thought process of anyone familiar with the darkest depths of heartbreak. It's important then that we see our hero literally break free from that thought prison and shrug off her internal fears. A lo-fi rendition of Claude Debussy's Clair de Lune bookends the journey. This gorgeously ethereal piece of music has undoubtedly touched the souls of many heartbroken individuals over the years, and its inclusion here subtly asks you to find comfort in that exact thought. You won't be the first nor the last lovesick fool to hear it, and it beckons you to acknowledge the scale of your heartbreak within the universe. Even the word sayonara is closely attuned to the game's themes. Though sayonara is a colloquialism in Japan, the word is rarely used as a farewell, since it has strong connotations with finality. You only say it if you know you'll never see that person again. Over in the West, the expression still has a somber quality, but it's tempered with a suave edge, a coolness best personified by a mic drop. The titular phrase appears towards the game's end. Just as our protagonist begins to leave, she coolly looks over her shoulder, tips her hat, and never looks back, forever closing that chapter of her life. Since the game deals with such universal and personal themes, the developers made a point to ensure that the game was accessible to newcomers. Notably, Simogo showed great restraint when it came to designing the game's control scheme. With the exception of a pause and back button for menus, the entire game is controlled with a control stick and a single button. Entire gameplay concepts that risked overcomplicating the controls were even scrapped to ensure the game was easy for anyone to pick up and play. Florence adopted a similar philosophy to gameplay, and both of these games flourish as a result. Despite being mechanically simple, the game's best trick is how it manages to consistently empower the player. While the gameplay looks absolutely bonkers, all you really need to do is, quite literally, follow your heart. Doing so guides you towards dancing in step with the game's rhythm, while you elegantly weave through the danger. Nailing strings of tricky actions to the beat of the brazenly energetic music hypnotizes you into an exhilarating and euphoric state of flow, reinforcing the life-affirming idea that anything's possible. It's that same momentum that'll carry our hero and the player over the finishing line. The game never cruelly penalises you for messing up either. It just takes you back a few seconds. The later levels will push you though, but you got to endure some hardships to overcome a heartbreak.
Why do you say goodbye so long?
Like any well-produced album, Sayonara Wild Hearts makes you feel a cocktail of emotions beyond what the lyrics are plainly communicating. Story, music and gameplay are all neatly interwoven to tell an unapologetically optimistic parable about overcoming a broken heart. Through play, it allows us to physically participate in the wonderfully cathartic and human experience of conquering heartbreak. Our hearts soar when our hero makes death-defying leaps of faith, and we giddily pump our fists when she defeats her inner demons, because we wish we could so easily do the same. During the weeks or months when a breakup consumes your life, it feels like an eternity of misery. But anyone who's overcome that pain can attest that it's really just a footnote on the path through life. Sayonara Wild Hearts imparts that wisdom while reminding us of a single eternal truth. You are worthy of love, and the journey towards mending a broken heart only begins when you learn to love and accept who you are. And once you've learnt that truth, you'll wonder what you ever did without it.